Hello. Today I'm going to take a look at or talk about an ESP32 kit. I guess you would call it it's a combination of a ESP32 and it has a display on it and it has battery management. It's made by Heltec Automation and it is pretty good. It's pretty small. It's got a little display on it and I have managed to damage that display. So that leads me to kind of want to do a review of this little assembly as a product. So let's get a close-up look at it. I've got it in my project. And I think, you know, with ESP32 and a lot of times what they're, and part of my main reason for buying this thing was to get the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth capability. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work all that well. I don't know if it's this board or ESP32s in general. First of all, you know, they're only 2.4 gigahertz. For a long time I thought that was part of my problem. But I can get this thing up really I can get it up close to the 2.4 gigahertz part of my primary Wi-Fi, and it still doesn't work very well. So again, I don't know if it's ESP32 or if it's this particular implementation. I thought I'd do a little Wi-Fi demo of the Wi-Fi capabilities of this ESP32 board and its implementation in this amplifier. I coded a little web server on the Heltec ESP32 that when it renders this little page. Basically gives you the same kind of controls that you have on the front panel. When you push one of the buttons, it requests a page from the ESP32 again over Wi-Fi with a different URL. So for example, when you push this button to do a volume up, and you see that lag right there is the frustrating thing. You see how the URL is now changed to VU. That ESP32 will interpret that to mean, okay, increase the volume and then get all the settings and re-render the page and reply and respond. So if I do VD, that's this button, change to VD. This over here is hooked up to the serial port and is it's printing to serial when it receives the command. So, you know, with the ESP32 there in the web server, there's a lot of stuff going on, probably on that other core. It is it's listening, handling the HTTP requests right now all the time. And when it gets one, you know, connects, gets one, does whatever negotiation it needs to do, and understands what the request is, then it hands it off to my code. And at that point, I print it, and I print it down here. While it's connected successfully, every 6 seconds, it'll also put out its IP address. So let's just cruise this real quick. Let's do volume up. And I'm going to go pretty fast, so it's to see how fast it will respond. There's a delay on that one, pretty bad. Still hadn't gotten it. Okay, there it went. Well, it's going pretty good right now, but you see occasionally it'll just not want to work. Sometimes it will just disconnect or fail to respond. But right now, this is pretty good. This is probably usable. There you can hear the difference. Let me increase the bass. Yeah. Okay. Not too bad right now. But like I said, it's flaky, and this is about as good as I've ever seen it work. It's also got the display on there, and it's got battery management on there. And I haven't taken advantage at all of the battery management, so I can't really comment on that. The display is very small, and you know, when I bought it, I didn't really think about how small that would be. Let's say this is the front plate of some project, in this case it's an amplifier. And you need it, right? You need to be able to see what's going on. When you turn one of these rotary encoders, you need to be able to, you know, it's telling you what the volume level is, and that's your only feedback, right? The rotary encoder, that notch doesn't mean anything. In fact, I wish it wasn't on the knob. You have to look at the display to know where you're at on your values, right? See how I have messed it up? The lines, especially if you go to some of these others, like the word ADC here, how it's almost like every other sort of scan line is missing. Now, I cannot figure out how I did that. And this is going to really lead into my major problem with this kit, is there's no way to mount it. I mean, okay, so you're thinking about putting together something, right? You've got a project in mind. You're thinking it would be really nice if that project had a display. So you go poking around, you're like, you know you want it to be ESP32, and you go poking around on the internet, and you find this particular kit, and it has a display built in. And you're like, oh, okay, that solves two of my problems with one purchase. This thing's about $20. Which, if you think about it, it's not that great a deal. Because you can get an ESP32 for 10 bucks. And there are probably displays out here this size that are maybe 5 bucks. So, but this clear plastic assembly piece here, that's really nice, right? Because that display inside there, I don't know how you would mount it on anything. And then you have to run, I guess, I think it's I2C, the way it communicates. Let me get up under here and try to get a close-up. I think I must have somehow, with the soldering iron, compromised that connection. Or I have somehow stressed it. I really just don't know how I messed it up. But, you know, it doesn't look right anymore. It used to look right. So my problem with this kit is they didn't give me any way to mount it to anything. What I've done is I've used these. This is it's to screw a glass mirror onto a wall. That's what that thing is, right? You use several of them to screw something to a wall, and it's usually a glass mirror. So I've got one of these things, and what I've done is I've mounted it in here like this, and I'm just basically I'm going to have to drill a hole and put a screw there, and I've got that to where it'll hold this module up against the back side of my faceplate. That's my mounting solution, and that's pretty crap, right? But I don't have, what else can I do? And what else can you do with any of these ESP32 kits? They don't have any mounting holes. And the room you get to do anything is ridiculously small. They think you want it to be small. I guess we want it to be small to a certain extent, but we got to be able to. I mean, how can I integrate this into any project if I can't mount it? I mean, even if I were to put, it's a header, right? You know, they think you're going to have a header soldered out the back. In fact, it came with it, right? It comes with it. That's the header that you're supposed to solder onto this little board so that you can then use DuPont connectors and cables. Okay, let's say I did that. And I had, you know, I had all these stakes out here, and then I had DuPont connectors, and then I had wires all coming out the back of this, all the way out on both sides, right? So then, again, how do I mount that to anything? Maybe I'm supposed to mount this on a PCB and then drill holes in the PCB, I guess, and then have standoffs coming from the PCB, the distance of the thickness of this to hold it. So I don't know. You kind of get where I'm coming from. It's like it's unwieldy. And imagine, look at the top, look at the distance it is, how tight it is to try to get your soldering iron in there to even, you know, to solder this on. If I damaged whatever this little thing is right here, if I damaged it with the soldering iron, and that's how I screwed up my display, because I had to get a soldering iron in there to one of these pins. So then I would have had to do that to solder this on. Another problem I had with this is that it has battery management. I'm just going to set this down a minute. It has battery management in it, and when you're looking at the schematic, you, well, where is the dang schematic? Here we go. All right, when you're looking at the schematic, you're thinking, okay, what pins can I use to hook stuff up, right? The schematic's pretty big, right? It's like this. But you can't see anything there. So you go ahead and you just zoom in on the chip, right? So that you can see what pins are available. So I start hooking up pins. That's fine, right? I started hooking up I'm trying to remember which one I ran into trouble on. I think it was 21. No, not 21. That's obvious that that's hooked up to something. Maybe it was 13. I hooked up something to 13. And then I pushed the button because it was, you know, it was there to determine whether or not a toggle button was pushed. So I pushed the button, and then the display lights up like it's like you hit the dimmer, like you removed the dimmer switch. I'm like, what? Why? Why did that happen? So then I finally figured out that whatever pin I was using was up here, was factored in up here. Where? Right here. I think it's right here, 21. Right here. There it is. 21 goes to R22. And so, okay. And it's got something to do with, I think you use that to turn on maybe the charging mechanism. Like, and then the A to D, one of the A to D converters, I think that's pin 13, yeah, right here. Pin 13 is used, I think, to monitor the state of your battery, which is, I mean, that's all good stuff, right? There's nothing wrong with any of that except that the fact that when you look at it down here, there's no indication at all that pin 13 or pin 21 are tied to anything. So I hooked stuff up to the pin 21, and I had no idea there was circuitry on the board that was connected to pin 21. I still don't know why we have two sets of pins. I guess, why is this right here labeled, is this, I guess this is pin 42 on the IC, and this is pin 21 out on the card edge, right? But the card edge, the numbers on there are not like, it's not like they're numbered 1 through 20 and then down the other side 21 to 40 or something like that. It's not like they skip around. They're all over the place. So why even bother to have different numbers? Anyway, all right. So I mean, that may be nitpicking a little bit, but it caused me problems that you can't. I mean, just run a little on the schematic. Run a line out here, and let me know that that's connected off somewhere else. Just make a line that goes out to a dot, and then I'll know. And it's okay that it also goes to the board edge, right? I'm not complaining. I mean, if it's an internal connection, yes, but it's okay that it's also going to the board edge. So it works fine. Its programmability is great. It works great. It's, I've got this sketch here that pretty much uses everything it's got. I mean, it's using the EEPROM, it's using the display, it's using the one of the A to D converters. That's what all this stuff is that I've got set up here, right? This is A to D converter. I got an A to D converter set up hooked up to this resistor ladder. What I'm going to do is these buttons, they mimic these rotary encoders can be pushed, right? As well as, and then we also have these that can be pushed. So there's 8 of them. 1, 2, 3. Right. So I'm gonna build a resistor ladder on the back so that I can monitor all 8 of these buttons. What does a resistor ladder look like on the back panel of an amplifier? Yeah, it's not very professional looking, but it could be worse. There's a lot of wires and resistors floating around in there. Well, air is a good insulator. And what that does is it frees up parallel IOs to go do other things with, like flip relays, turn on relays on and off, maybe monitor this power button over here so that I can put it into low power mode. Right now the power button, well, it's not even hooked up, but it would just shut everything off. But I also want to free up some parallel IO lines to maybe try to experiment with I2S. So, but in other words, by the time I have wired up all of these rotary encoders, each rotary encoder takes two pins, right? And then I also had 8. I had these 3 taken up, and I had ran out, and not even been able to wire up any of the push buttons on the rotary encoders yet. So I was out of pins, and I had 5 more that I wanted to hook up, not including all the other stuff I wanted to do. I was just out of pins. So I guess a conclusion of some sort may be in line about this ESP32 kit. I don't know how I damaged the display. I don't feel like I did anything that should have damaged the display. Did I maybe get in there and solder with the soldering iron when power was applied? I mean, that would be my fault. I don't think I did that. Did I touch something with the hot soldering iron that compromised it? Static electricity, these things are very tolerant when it comes to static electricity. They're highly protected. They have to be because, you know, builders and makers are handling this stuff with their fingers all the time. You know, and if they were that easy to kill with static, there'd be a lot of complaints. So they're very highly tolerant. I don't know what I could have done, and I'm disappointed that the display's broke. To the point where I feel like I should give the kit a bad review. But, you know, the manufacturer of the kit's going to be like, you know, we got no idea how you broke your kit. What? Well, I'm going to say back to you, manufacturer, if you had given me a mounting solution, some way to mount the board on anything, right? With the display mounted to the kit board, the way it is okay. But then I gotta have a way to mount that assembly to something. There's nothing. Unless I guess I have to put all those pins in there and then mount that to a PCB board, a PCB, and then from that there's holes to mount stuff to. I guess that's what I was supposed to do. The Wi-Fi doesn't work very well either. I don't know why, you know. So I don't know. I haven't tried Bluetooth. I don't know. I don't guess I have much more to say about it. It is. I guess if you're an experimenter, it's a good kit. If you want to build something and integrate this into a project that is a completed project without some kind of mounting solution, I don't know if I could recommend it. I mean, unless you have more skills or other ways to like mount this on something and then mount that into your project, then maybe you could use this. If not, then I wouldn't use it. Maybe I'm just disappointed in myself more than I am actually the kit because I broke it. All right. Thanks for your time.